I've been practicing minimalism for nearly a decade now. And from the very beginning, I've always said one thing. Minimalism is mental first. Minimalism is mental first. Minimalism is mental first. See, the thing about minimalism or decluttering is that it's not just about getting rid of things. It's also about shifting the way you think about letting go in the first place. And from my experience, this is the inner work that I see so many people who are striving to create a clutter-free life ignoring. And that choice comes with consequences. Whether it's decluttering your space or letting go of old habits, we all start strong, right? But many of us quickly fall back into old routines and old habits. Now, of course, we should give ourselves some grace because we can't expect to be perfect. However, I still want to know why. Why are we inconsistent? Why do we start strong but lose momentum in favor of old habits and old routines? The answer is because we haven't done the mental work. And that's what I want to talk about today. The mental work that is going to help you get from point A to point B on this journey. And so let's unpack 4 mindset shifts that can change the way you look at this whole process and ultimately help you let go. Life is a series of windows and mirrors. Think about your life as a journey filled with windows and mirrors. When you look through the window, you see what everyone else has, their possessions, their achievements, their goals. But when you look in the mirror, you see your reality, your values, your needs, your goals. Now, the window view encourages accumulation, more stuff because now you see what everyone else has and you think you have to have it too. More goals because now you feel behind in life, more everything. The mirror view, on the other hand, encourages introspection. It forces you to face your reality and figure out what you value and what you can let go of. And so with this in mind, I have a question for you. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Is it cluttered with things you no longer need? Is it filled with items and dreams that still resonate with you? Does it represent your values or someone else's values? Are you happy or are you people pleasing? I remember when I thought I needed to buy more things in order to keep up with the person I thought I was or that I wanted other people to think that I was. And sometimes this is the harsh reality we need when we're on this journey. Because when I started looking in the mirror, I realized that I didn't actually want these things, nor did they make me happy, and it didn't represent or reflect my true self either. They were just distractions, band-aids, cover-ups, makeup in a sense. And it was this realization that shifted my entire approach to decluttering. It made this experience more personal, more meaningful, and it helped this mindset stick. Life is a series of windows and mirrors, right? Now, here's an exercise for you because maybe you need something a bit more concrete than staring at yourself in the mirror and reflecting on these questions I've shared with you. Maybe you're not very good at being introspective yet. And if so, that's okay. Try this. Grab a journal and write down the things you value. Now, if you don't know what your values are, don't worry. I have a free worksheet that you can download at ronaldlbanks.com/values that'll walk you through the entire process step by step. Next, make a list of the items in your home, your goals, your dreams, or the habits you have that are no longer aligned with your values. And what I mean by this is they're no longer in service of the things that are most important to you. Now, what this exercise does is it draws a clear distinction between your true self and your fantasy self, which is a powerful way to build clarity around what matters to you and what's cluttering your life. Take a listen to my thoughts on this from a few years ago. The first minimalist video that I shared here on my YouTube channel, I talked about the 3 reasons why I wanted to become a minimalist. And the second reason on my list was that I wanted to reinvent myself. But now that I think about it, there may be another way of saying that, or maybe I can call it reason number 2B. And that is that I wanted to learn to be 100% happy with the real me instead of my fantasy self. See, your fantasy self is the person that you want to be. Or I want to take it a step further and say that it's also the person that you want others to think that you are. For example, let's say you love the idea of cooking. So you go out and you buy professional grade appliances and professional grade tools for your kitchen, and then you realize that cooking's not really my thing. But in that moment, your fantasy self was cooking 5-course meals every Sunday for dinner. Or maybe your fantasy self is very expressive and extroverted and very outgoing and always wanted to have people over the house at dinner parties and hang out, come watch the football game with the boys at the house. But the real you is kind of quiet and shy and likes their alone time. Doesn't have too many friends that they openly express to or talk to or have over their house. That's the fantasy you. That's the person that you want to be, or the person that you want others to think that you are. Maybe you go shopping, right? You go shopping for some new clothes and you pick out a style that you've never worn before in your life. But in that moment, while you're checking out, while you're trying them on in the mirror, your fantasy self is looking good. Your fantasy self is like, this is me, until you get home and those items sit in your closet and you never wear them. For me, my fantasy self was a little bit more than just the material things that I owned or the clothes that I wore. It actually started to root itself into my personality. But it wasn't until I decided to break up with myself that I realized that I was off course. And sometimes for some of you, depending on your journey, you may need somebody in your life to be that reality check for you. I remember. The second mindset that I want to talk about is reframing letting go as a gain and not a loss. And this is important because we often associate letting go with loss. It's the default response. Losing possessions, losing a memory. Maybe it's the money we spent, or even losing part of ourselves. However, reframing letting go as gaining something, whether it's a clearer space, a lighter mind, more family time, some extra cash in our pockets, or even freedom, can make this process less daunting and more rewarding. In fact, think about it like this. This mindset shift helps you see decluttering not as a sacrifice, but as an opportunity to gain something tangible and intangible in return. Here's an example. When I first started my journey, I had a closet full of clothes, 2 closets actually, full of clothes that I never wore. And I shared my story in detail many times before, so I'm not going to bore you with that. But if you're new here, here's the 30-second version. I had 60 pairs of pants, north of 100 t-shirts, shoes I never wore or barely wore, and clothes with the tags still on them. And all of this was a reminder of who I thought I was, or who I was pretending to be. And so when I finally let go of those clothes, I didn't just clear space or come up on a couple of extra dollars because of the things I sold, which are the typical, tangible, and most popular benefits we immediately draw a connection to when we talk about letting go. But what often flies under the radar are the intangible benefits. And so for me, I also gained mental clarity, emotional freedom. There was this removal of decision fatigue, an increase in my confidence. See, the gain outweighed the perceived loss. But this is my story, and that doesn't necessarily help you, right? So let's get tactical, because my journey was unique to me and yours is going to be unique to you. And so I think it's helpful if we break this down and give you something practical that you can apply that will translate into results for you. Here's the exercise. When letting go, focus on objective outcomes, not temporary feelings. So here's a question I want you to ask yourself. What transformation do I gain from letting go? If you can tie your transformation to something that deeply matters to you, something that's both tangible and intangible, whether it's a clearer space, a lighter mind, more family time, more cash in your pocket, freedom from the emotions that held you hostage, the removal of decision fatigue, more confidence, anything else entirely, whatever it is for you, if you can tie your transformation to something that matters to you, that's powerful. And it makes decluttering more than worth it. Now, before we dive into the next mindset, I want to tell you why it's my favorite of the 4. For me, this mindset shift really hit home because it transformed how I view my relationship with possessions. And for context, I used to see my things as permanent, things that defined who I was, who I thought I wanted to be, the things I thought I should have. And so I had a closed fist mentality, a closed fist attitude. And maybe you can relate to this expression. But see, Things aren't meant to be permanent fixtures in our lives. They're more like visitors, here for the time and then gone when their purpose is served. And so when I adopted the mindset of being a temporary steward, it freed me from this sense of obligation that I had to hold on to everything forever. This mental chain that I wrapped around myself, right? This closed fist mentality. And it allowed me to finally let go without the guilt, without this feeling of loss. Think about it this way. Life is a series of seasons. And just like the seasons outside, our desires, our needs, and our values shift and change over time. And so the things that were important to you in one season of your life may not be necessary or fit in the next. And so when I embraced this mindset, it made it so much easier to release the things that no longer aligned with the current season that I was in or where I was heading in life. And this is powerful because it helps you detach emotionally from your things, which makes it easier to let go when they no longer serve you. But even beyond that, when you see your possessions as temporary, it helps you make intentional choices about what you're going to keep, because now you're more aware of the season you're in. Make sense? Now, let's get tactical, because again, just hearing me talk is not enough on its own. So I have an eye-opening exercise for you. Think about one possession or habit that no longer serves you. Write down why it was important to you in a previous season and how it's holding you back in your next season. See, letting go becomes easier when we can acknowledge that these things were once helpful, but now they're just simply standing in the way. Turn the fear of missing out into the joy of missing out. We've all experienced the fear of missing out. It's that nagging feeling that we might be missing out on opportunities or experiences that could be crucial to our happiness or success. And this stems from a scarcity mindset. And it's the thing that keeps us holding on to clothes just in case. It keeps us holding on to goals that no longer excite us, but because we've invested so much into it, we feel like we have to keep going, and so many other things. But on the other hand, the joy of missing out encourages this shift from scarcity to abundance. It's recognizing that we don't have to do it all to feel fulfilled, to find success, to be happy, and that missing out can actually enhance our lives, right? Now, here's where we get tactical. For every moment that you feel a sense of FOMO, I just want you to pause and reframe it. Spend a few minutes identifying the joy and the benefits of missing out. All right, now let's talk a little bit more about implementing these mindset shifts beyond the tactical advice I already shared with you. Because what good is the information if you don't apply it? All right. Now, many clarity seekers on this journey fear the unknown. And the feeling of letting go of something that has been part of your world for so long can feel like a lot of mental and emotional work. And it can be. And so here are 5 simple steps to help you do this successfully. Step 1 is to write down all of your decluttering fears. You really want to have clarity on why it's hard for you to let go of certain things. Step 2 is to describe where those fears are coming from. And you want to be specific about every single detail. So is it a fear of judgment from others? Is it a fear of regret? Is it a fear that you might have to admit that you made a mistake? Or the fear of losing a part of yourself? What is it? Be specific. Step 3 is to pick one mindset shift from the 4 we talked about. And you want to pick one that resonates with you and aligns closely with the fears you have. All right. And then step 4 is to run the playbook. Practice this mindset shift regularly. All right. And then step 5 is to personalize where possible. See, as you continue to record your decluttering fears and you practice thinking differently about them, there are going to be opportunities where you have to personalize these mindset shifts to fit your situation. So for example, the 3rd mindset shift we talked about was adopting the mindset of a temporary steward, right? To recognize and understand that your possessions are temporary and they're not permanent fixtures in your life. Well, maybe in your situation, instead of a temporary steward, maybe you should adopt the mindset of a decisive organizer or the mindset of a confident decision maker. Whatever it is, personalize where possible, because that's what's going to help you get over those humps whenever you're feeling stuck. Okay, here's the bottom line. Letting go is not about losing. It's about evolving. It's about making room for the things that truly matter to you in this chapter of your life. And so if you're willing to put in the work, conquering your fears of letting go can be much more manageable than you're anticipating. But on the flip side, if you continue to hold on to those fears, then you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of physical and mental clutter, preventing you from moving forward. So stop decluttering, my friend, and fix your mindset first. Remember, minimalism is mental first. Keep growing on your journey, keep learning, and always remember to stay true to you. See you next time. Peace.